Good evening, everybody. Big news tonight out of the state of Georgia. Fulton County DA Fani Willis in deep trouble, and President Trump with a big win after the Georgia Court of Appeals gave the green light to President Donald Trump's motion to disqualify Willis and her office from the Georgia RICO case. And this means the corrupt Democrats' dream of convicting President Trump before the November elections is dead, and in all likelihood, so is the entire prosecution. Trump's legal team is filing a motion to stay the case while that appeal to remove Fani Willis is heard. And meanwhile, pressure is building on Speaker Mike Johnson to actually remove special counsel Jack Smith. The special counsel spearheading Biden's political persecutions appears to have been illegally appointed by the Attorney General, who has no statutory authority whatsoever to appoint a special counsel. Only the president has that authority to nominate a special counsel and then, with the approval and confirmation by the Senate, become a special counsel. There hasn't been a ruling on the issue by the Supreme Court yet, no intervention at all by the Chief Justice, but there's no reason why that shouldn't come quickly. And U.S. Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene of Georgia wants to defund the special counsel's so-called Jack Smith's witch hunts. She said this, quote, "I have legislation that would end Jack Smith's witch hunt. Mike Johnson needs to wield the power of the Speaker's gavel and pass it." Amen. But will Johnson actually do anything about it? Congresswoman Elise Stefanik of New York, in a fiery exchange with what she called novice Congressman Dan Goldman, also of New York, but one a Democrat and the other a Republican, well, she made a striking presentation, a fiery presentation about what's really at stake in the Trump political persecutions. And here she is.
The gentleman yields back. I now recognize Ms. Stefanik for 5 minutes.
Oh, I love being able to respond to the novice from New York. First of all, thank you so much for stating the obvious, that political lawfare is in fact election interference. That's what we're seeing with the sham Alvin Bragg trial. Thank you also to the novice freshman member for New York, highlighting that withholding military aid to an ally for a political purpose, just like Joe Biden is doing to Israel. Always grateful for you stepping in it. Mr. Costello, in your opening statement, you said that in the over 50 years serving as a lawyer, you, quote, have never seen the types of politically motivated cases that have been brought in this presidential election season. These political cases are being used as a weapon of war to damage, defeat, or impede political adversaries and their allies. Instead of political warfare, it is lawfare, a cancer upon our collective judicial system. I want to begin with Alvin Bragg's weaponized sham trial in New York. Isn't it true that in Alvin Bragg's campaign for Manhattan DA, Bragg specifically ran on going after President Donald Trump?
That is true.
Political lawfare for the purpose of election interference to go after Donald Trump. Do you agree?
Totally.
This is one of the reasons that Trump's polls continue to skyrocket, and it's why President Trump will win in 2024 to end the illegal and warped weaponization of the justice system, because if they can illegally go after Trump, they can go after anyone.
Elise Stefanik, I think she is an extraordinary representative. And by the way, one of the finest leaders in the Republican Party in the House of Representatives. And joining us now to take up these political persecutions and more is conservative attorney Kurt Olson. Let's start with all of the good news that seems to be descending from on high, that is, from the benches of the appellate courts as well as some state courts that are struggling to deal with a new reality. That is the importance of truth, justice, and the American way. Give us your reaction, if you will, to the acceptance of the Trump appeal to disqualify Fani Willis for all of her escapades and extraordinary corruption.
Well, I think it shows a commitment to a fair process. And clearly, if you follow the travails of Fani Willis and her consort, Nathan Wade, who were co-prosecuting the president, there's clearly a conflict of interest. I mean, it's very much Banana Republic-like. Nathan Wade, her consort, making, I think, over $1 million of taxpayer funds, and they're jaunting away. He and Fani Willis on trips and doing all sorts of things. And the whole proceeding was a farce. And so that is, I think, a terrific development. It also means, as a practical matter, that trial is not going to take place, if it ever does, before the election. And I think that was one of the key things that they were trying to push.
Yeah, and I that's exactly what I wanted to ask you. At what point now that all of this is, if you will, tainted, discolored, contaminated by Fani Willis as the district attorney, the George Soros-sponsored district attorney of Fulton County DA office, why in the world should that case just not be simply dismissed and move on? Because on its face, this is just ignorance and corruption.
No, I think it will be dismissed. I think it's irrevocably. I mean, the case was unmeritorious to begin with, but when you take into account, these conflicts of interest, and I mean, it's quite frankly a disgrace to the judicial system. What is going on here?
It truly is, particularly to Fulton County, and particularly to the state of Georgia. Georgia has a lot of issues right now before it, as you well know, that are just screaming corruption and, at the very least, ineptitude on the part of the election system there and the powers that be that really have authority as well as responsibility for that electoral system. And I'm speaking to, obviously, Judge Amy Totenberg, her deliberations over what was a bench trial, or we're awaiting her determination about whether or not there has to be some form of very serious remedy in order to assure an election that is at once fraudulent-free and works. Which actually hasn't been the case, it seems, in Georgia for some cycles.
Well, I think that's true. And then let's remember what Judge Totenberg said in her opinion denying the preliminary injunction that she issued on October 11th, 2020, right before the 2020 election. And she said, basically, my hands are tied. But with respect to these machines and the claims that plaintiffs brought, it's not a question of if these machines will be hacked or manipulated. It's just a question of when. And this was a 150-page or so opinion that was very detailed. She chastised the Secretary of State and their experts for being obstructionist, and actually praised the plaintiffs' experts for revealing the truth. And that is that these machines, the voting machines, have severe vulnerabilities and are prone to manipulation in a way that cannot be secure. Even Alex Halderman said that all of the safety procedures that are designed to ensure the integrity of the vote can be bypassed. And that was his testimony.
And that's Alex Halderman, who is one of the country's leading experts on electronic voting machines and their integrity or lack thereof. He's playing a peculiar role now in this, in that he seems to have altered position in a number of ways, some subtle, some not. but primarily as a standoff, objective expert. He seems to be retiring himself from that role. Your thoughts?
Well, Professor Halderman has been, I think, accurate in discussing the vulnerabilities and how easily these machines can be used to manipulate elections. But where he gets sideways is he testified before the Senate Intelligence Committee in June of 2017 that, hey, the 2016 election could be hacked by nation state actors quite easily and change the outcome of the election. And then he testified in the curling case that, the dangers were so great to the integrity of the election that he had to be freed up from a protective order to notify CISA of what he had found. And that was going to affect the 2022 election. But there was nothing to see here on the 2020 election. It was like Professor Halderman likes to say 2016 could be manipulated and hacked. 2022 could be manipulated and hacked, but 2020, nothing to see here. So he's really taking on that score an intellectually dishonest opinion, in my view.
Well, that's my view as well, Kurt, because as you look over his testimony and listen to his statements before a federal judge, Amy Totenberg, as he shows the machine actually in the courtroom, he manipulates the machine and has access to the voting machine just simply by putting a ballpoint pen into the innards of the thing, demonstrating clearly that it's vulnerable to manipulation and to corruption, and then sort of wants to fade to the sidelines. Judge Totenberg has put herself four square in the center of this thing. She is the great hope for integrity in the Georgia election system. Is that a fair way to say it?
I think that is fair. I mean, I think that this is a momentous decision. This case has been pending since 2017. And so I think honestly, I'm a little bit surprised we have not heard or gotten a ruling yet from Judge Totenberg, given the closeness to the 2024 election, how significant it is to the 2024 election. And, there is, I suspect, more to come in terms of additional filings that will be done in the coming weeks and months, including with the Georgia State Election Board.
Yeah, and I do, at this point, I retain hope that she will continue to be absolutely responsible and thoughtful in her approach to that ruling. She has been straightforward in her comments and her reasoning, which is something we haven't had from a federal judge in this country throughout this entire, going back through 4 election cycles. She, in my opinion, is the first bright light emanating from the judiciary on the subject of these voting machines and their reliability and integrity. I want to turn very quickly, if I could, Kurt, to what is happening in New York. President Trump, obviously at his son's graduation, because Judge Juan Merchant decided to forego another day of courtroom activity on a Friday and let the president go to Barron's graduation. When is this case going to simply implode? Most of the observers said, and I'm talking about other attorneys, knowledgeable attorneys, who said that Michael Cohen was torn apart on the witness stand and cross-examination. And then your other star witness, if you're the DA, Alvin Bragg, you had the good judgment to have a porn star and a convicted felon and certified liar as your 2 star witnesses. Why would this even go farther in that courtroom?
Well, the case should have never been brought, as with all of the other cases to begin with. And so the point is not here to find justice. They haven't even defined a crime that the president committed. And so the whole purpose of the trial is quite obvious on its face. It is simply to attempt to hamstring and distract the president and create more controversy around him. You just mentioned the 2 star witnesses are both, I believe, have been found to have perjured themselves in the past or have been shown to deny what they now say happened.
We appreciate you being with us. Kurt Olson, thanks so much.
Thank you, Lou.
Meanwhile, it seems even CNN is starting to understand what Bragg's failed persecution of President Trump is doing in that Manhattan trial. It's not doing the left any good at all. Here is Anderson Cooper, speaking of the left, on Cohen's lies, pretending that that's testimony.
Having just witnessed that piece of cross-examination, do you have doubts that that conversation happened the way Michael Cohen testified on his direct examination, that he called Trump insular?
I think it's absolutely. I think it's devastating, for Michael Cohen's credibility on this, in this one particular topic, whether it's, he just didn't, it's hard to, I don't know. Yes, I think if I was a juror in this case, watching that, I would think this guy's making this up as he's going along, or he's making this particular story up.
Cooper having a heck of a time. He said the truth, he spoke the truth, and then he was trying to figure out a way to get out of the truth. He came back to the truth, and good for him. And in late night theatrics last night on the House floor, during a hearing on contempt of Congress against Biden's political hatchet man, Attorney General Merrick Garland, AOC and MTG, they threw it down in a wild tussle.
Okay. Ms. Green agrees to strike her words.
I believe she needs to apologize. No.
Perry, okay, hold on. Then after Mr. Perry's going to be recognized, then Ms. Green
I'm not
has 4 minutes and
apologizing.
21
Well,
seconds.
then
Okay,
you're
reserve
not
the right to
striking your
object.
words.
Perry,
I am
Mr.
not
Perry,
apologizing.
Now let's go. Come on, guys.
Why don't you debate me?
Mr. Chairman, the
it's
minority.
pretty self-evident.
You're not.
Yeah, you're not.
out of order.
You don't have enough
You're out of order.
intelligence.
Chair recognizes Mr. Perry.
Okay, move to strike the.
I'd like to
I move to
strike
strike the
those
lady's
words as well.
words.
I would like to
Strike the lady's
as well.
words again.
That's 2 requests to strike. That's 2 requests to strike.
Oh, they cannot take the
There's
words.
another motion to strike her words again. Please
All right.
get
Okay.
your members under
Here's the
control.
correct.
I loved watching Comer there. He started talking about his hearing aids, and I just have to tell you, watching that little episode there in the House, it sort of does my heart good to know that people still have some passion about what they're doing, and I love the fact that Marjorie Taylor Greene just said it very straightforwardly that it was a question of AOC's intelligence, and from there everything went forward. Those radical Democrats, by the way, proceeding to make a ridiculous spectacle of the Congress is Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, who's sitting there with those folks. She's from Dallas, and she exploded into a rant that was difficult for lots of people to understand. Here she is.
You just voted to do
Y'all
it.
did it first, so you don't want to talk about it.
Voted to do it.
Order.
I'm trying to get clarification.
Look at, calm down.
No, because this is what
like
y'all
to get
do.
through proceedings.
So I'm trying to get
Ms.
clarification.
Crockett, you're not
Y'all wanna
recognized.
play
Ms.
games.
Crockett.
I can't hear you with your
And
yelling.
You don't want
calm
me to
down.
Be,
Can
no,
you please calm
don't
down?
tell me to calm down.
Calm down.
Because y'all
Please
talk
calm
noise,
down.
and then you
You're
can't
out of
take
control.
Because if
Look, Chairman,
I
can
come
we
and
send her
talk
outside to
shit
take a
about
break
her,
for 5
y'all
minutes?
gonna have a problem.
Mr.
Chairman.
All right, Chair.
I don't know why
Okay.
you're
Order.
acting
Chair
like
now
that.
recognizes
Not cute.
Ms. Green for 4 minutes and 21 seconds. 4 minutes. Let Ms. Green talk, and then you all can. I'll recognize.
But I moved to strike her words for a second time based on her second set of personal remarks attacking another member.
Who?
Chairman Comer.
Because you all cannot
I have an
seem
amendment at
to
the desk,
apply
and this
the rules
sideshow
of the
needs to
committee.
stop.
We have to do this every time.
Hey,
I'm recognized. I'm recognized. I'm going to go ahead and start talking.
Look, I know. Look, I don't know if you noticed it. I have 2 hearing aids. I'm very deaf. I'm not understanding. Everybody's yelling. I'm doing the best I can.
He's doing the best he can, but I have to tell you, he had some tough members to deal with there. You talk about herding cats; that was some performance. Well, how disrespectful, frankly, to the People's House. But I happen to enjoy it, so I forgive the disrespect. The Democrats and the Republicans, it's good to see them actually come out as they are and get it done. Marjorie Taylor Greene right now is my very favorite contender for Legislator of the Year. She does not take any guff, and she gives better than she gets. The Marxist Dems, though, have no respect for you, and that's evident not only by their disgraceful behavior, but also by their unwillingness to advance policies that help the American people. They don't like us, they don't respect us, and they mean to actually destroy us. But here's some positive news. Barron Trump has graduated from the prestigious Oxbridge Academy in West Palm Beach. Former President Donald Trump in attendance, despite Judge Merchant's worst. He got to see his son Barron get his high school diploma, as he was able to get away from the political persecutions for at least one day. And good for you, Barron, and good for you, all of Barron's classmates. And Mr. Trump, great things ahead for you and your son. Well, I'm sure he's going to build on those great things. 37 days ago, we interviewed a January 6th prisoner, the prisoner, Jake Lang. That was Jake's last interview. Then he was thrown into solitary confinement by the Biden regime. And we're happy to say that Jake Lang has just gotten out of solitary confinement. He joins us tonight from the prison by phone. And Jake, I have to say, 40 months of imprisonment is just extraordinary. And we're delighted, at least you're out of solitary confinement and here again with us on the phone. Jake, thanks so much for being with us. We appreciate it. I cannot even imagine what 36 days in solitary confinement is like. Give us your sense of what that experience was, so that we can at least share in part in that outrage.
Of course, Lou. Well, first of all, thanks for having me on. It's good to be connected and hear a friendly voice. So much time, where you're disconnected from your friends and family and your community and stuff is absolutely devastating. And that's partly the peculiar torture and cruel and unusual punishment of solitary confinement. You really are just like unpersoned, kind of like in the 1984 novel by George Orwell. You become unpersoned, and that's like the most, I guess, egregious form of torture and punishment that any human being can go through. But I'm not going to sit here and just complain about it and tell you how bad it was, although it was devastating. There's always Jesus living in every single prison cell to all those who call out his name. And so I was not alone. I had Christ with me. I was able to receive so much revelation from the Lord and hear his voice and just have that good time while I was working and building myself up and working on my character. So, what the devil intended for evil, God used for our good, brother, every single time.
And you inspire all of us with your strength and your faith. I have to say, there is also the darkness that is inescapable, and that is the evil that has put you in the hands of those who would punish you, treat you like any animal, I suppose, rather than as a human being, and most importantly in that, as an American citizen. You've gone without trial. You, as far as I know, Jake, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, you still don't have a trial date, do you?
So yesterday, Lou, was 40 months. I was arrested on January 16th, 2021. May 16th, 2024 just came 40 months. I have been incarcerated without a trial. My trial has been moved 4 times. The new trial date is in September of this year, and that'll be 1,400 plus days between the time I was first arrested and taken away from my friends and family and my home in upstate New York to dragged down to Biden's gulag and oppressed by the corrupt Department of Justice here. This is, just like you said, un-American in its very nature. They're trying to crush the American spirit. They're using the January 6ers as like a signal flare to the rest of the American people. This is what happens to you if you dare become a political dissident in America, stand against Marxism. But they're trying to scare people. And what they're not understanding is that if I can go through this, and I have, with a smile on my face and with purpose in my heart and driven and persevering, then you can too. You always have to speak out and do the right thing and stand up against tyranny, even if the most greatest sacrifice, which is giving our lives for this country. If it were called for that, I'm pretty sure me and all the Gen Sixers would be the first in line signing up to volunteer. And, that's basically where we're at right now. We're at the final measure. They've taken everything from many of us, and the only thing we have left to give is our lives.
Well, I hope that that is, frankly, something that everyone hears, because what they can't take from you is your strength and your faith, and I hope that will instill in others. I think I've said this to you. I don't know how many times. There's nothing that makes me feel more helpless as an American citizen, more just a sense of futility. Because I can't come up with an answer, and I can't find anyone with an answer to the outrage that the corrupt Justice Department, those corrupt prosecutors, the corrupt FBI, and the judges who overcharged you and who think this is just somehow acceptable. Their ignorance, their corruption, their venality, their viciousness is just abominable. And we don't seem to have a single part of our system that is working to be a check on their iniquity and their evil. I have to tell you, it's just extraordinary to me that we cannot come up with a solution as the ingenious Americans we're supposed to be. Our Congress has failed. The president is the leader of that a bunch of thugs that pretend they're in the judiciary and pretend they're prosecutors. Your thoughts, Jake? I just get so outraged I can't stand it.
Well, your outrage means a lot to me and all the guys that are incarcerated for years. I mean, that's one of the things that we still do have left to hold on, right? They want us to become apathetic, the American people, to just kind of take this as the new normal, like they do in China. They have apathy towards their political prisoners and dissidents and how they're being tortured. So at least we have outrage to cling on to right now. But we have more than that. We have solutions. We have civic action. We have organizations, and we can push back in the law. With all of these different ways, civil lawsuits and oversight committees and stuff, we have to really exercise and hold our public officials accountable. The congressmen and women that have been silent to the plight of the January 6ers, they need to be completely removed from their positions of power. The judiciary system officials, the prosecutors and the federal judges that are complicit and overcharging and over-sentencing the January 6ers and allowing these kangaroo courts and these biased and prejudiced jury trials to happen underneath their watch, they need to be impeached and they need to be disbarred and never allowed to practice law again. We need to get organized and focus on the individuals that are really behind each one of these things. Merrick Garland, Christopher Wray, the federal judges, the federal prosecutors. They all have names, they all have offices, they all collect paychecks from the American people. And it's time we put rubber to the road and really start to hold these public officials accountable and and by accountable, I mean get them out, get them all out. They're a bad crop. The DC swamp here. This is what Trump was talking about, Lou. Drain the swamp. These are the swamp monsters that make up the swamp, and they need to go. So let's start calling out and having politicians explain their platform. What are you going to do for the January 6th political prisoners? What are you going to do about those who harassed and browbeaten and physically assaulted and stuck in prison for years at a time? The January 6ers, the federal prosecutors, the judges, the U.S. Marshals, the FBI agents, and their leaders that told them to do this. We need transparency from our congressmen and women on what their platform and what their outlook is on January 6th and all of the, surrounding components to our persecution before we start bringing in another crop of, rhino Republicans that just want to turn a blind eye to, me and my brother's plight in here. So we have tools at our disposal. It's just up to us to grasp hold of this sovereignty and this power God's given us, and the power of our voice and our votes, and stop putting in the wrong people in office, and get some brave America First, libertarian, Republican, MAGA Republicans in there who are going to make a difference.
Let me ask you, as we're closing here, is there any reason that your trial date should be in September? Why couldn't it be sooner? Why couldn't it be accelerated? It's impossible to think that an American has been held in the United States prisoner for almost 4 years, and to think that there isn't a solution. Is there any reason that you wouldn't want your trial to be accelerated? Is there any legitimate reason that it's taking so long, in your judgment?
There's many legitimate reasons, unfortunately, because the prosecutors in my case have pushed up my charge that my judge, Carl Nichols, Trump appointee, he dropped the 1512 obstruction of Congress charge from my case. It is a 20-year maximum felony charge. It is basically a bludgeoning to a weaponized lawfare against the American people. 350 Jan 6ers have it. Donald Trump has also been charged with it. My judge dropped it from my case. The prosecutors fought it. They brought it to the appellate court. The appellate court put it back on top of me. And the only avenue of relief we had left was to go to Supreme Court. And so that Supreme Court case has been working itself out for over a year. And we're going to have a decision here in June. God willing, it's going to be like the end of a movie, victory, when we get this charge drop, and Donald Trump also off his looming criminal indictment from January 6th. So we're battling in the highest court of the land. These are high stakes. People's lives are on the line. The presidency's on the line. And, this is the main reason why I haven't been able to go to trial. But they obviously don't want the truth to get out in many different avenues of, what I seen and witnessed on January 6th, them murder Roseanne Boyland, the Capitol Police tyrants, ruthlessly murder the second woman. Everyone knows about Ashley Babbitt, but Roseanne Boyland was, bludgeoned to death and asphyxiated and trampled by the Capitol Police. And they covered up her death and said that she died of a methamphetamine overdose. But I and many other Jan 6ers witnessed this, and so they want to hide, and they want to obfuscate, and they want to try to push off and postpone my trial so that the truth of her death and her cover-up of her death even can't reach the American public. But I appreciate your platform, Lou, and getting this truth out to the American people. It's necessary.
Well, I appreciate everything you're doing. You're, as I've said over and over, you're an inspiration to all of us. And you're also a very important reminder that we're doing far too little in this country to save this republic, because that's what's at stake in all of this, that the American people would let fellow citizens be imprisoned for 40 months without a trial is frankly a slap to our face as well. It is a dark stain on this country's history that we have done so. We hope to do better, and to do better soon. Jake, thanks for being with us, and I always give you the last word, but God bless you, and thanks for all that you're doing to keep your spirits and the spirits of all of your fellow prisoners, political prisoners in the Biden gulag, as you called it. Give us your thoughts here as we and I certainly hope that we don't have to wait as long to talk to you again. All the best, my friend. Your thoughts.
Thank you, Lou. Well, God bless you. And I just want to really just touch on the fact that after 36 days of solitary confinement, you have a lot of time to think, to review your life and review the things that are important to you, and who's important to you. And there's only one name that there's salvation, guys. You guys have to look in and read the Word of God. It's not a question. If you want to save America, it's in between the pages of the Bible. And I want to give all the glory to God for prospering me through this one of the most grievous times of my life. And giving me the joy just of relationship with his son Jesus in that time of my life. And I want to offer you guys that same exact gift of salvation and peace, because if I could maintain my sanity and my integrity in a situation like a 8x10 prison cell with no phone, no book, no ability to write my lawyer or call home or have a towel or any hygiene products, all we had was a roll of toilet paper, a 2-inch toothbrush, and a bar of soap. Survive with that for 40 days. And you'll quickly realize that you don't need much else but God. And if you have God, you have everything. So please, Lord, just bless this nation and bless every listener and touch their hearts and reveal your son, Jesus, in their hearts. And in your name we pray, Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen. Thank you, Lou. God bless you guys.
Amen, Jake. And thank you so much. We appreciate it, and may God keep you. Thanks so much, Jake Lang. Well, the Biden regime is accelerating its war on America through immigration, illegal immigration. On Thursday, Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas and Attorney General Merrick Garland said they would speed up the asylum process for illegal aliens brought in by the invite of one Joe Biden and headed and distributed to major cities across the country. Atlanta, Boston, Chicago, Los Angeles, New York City will be likely inundated by illegal aliens, and the Biden regime thinks they're really, really clever in this corrupt system they've created. These cities will serve as, quote, incubation chambers for the Democratic Party's new electorate. That is their intent. That is their plan, their strategy. And meanwhile, Congressman Thomas Massie has introduced legislation to end the Federal Reserve. In a statement, Massie said that, quote, Americans are suffering under crippling inflation and the Federal Reserve is to blame, end quote. That, of course, is correct. It is also, there are other issues as well. Congressman Massie also saying the White House, Congress, and Wall Street have conspired to spend recklessly and rob retirees of their savings. The American dream, he says, is dying, and the Fed is killing it. Well, we're going to see where that effort, that legislation goes, and we wish Congressman Massie all of the best of luck. Turning now to Nevada, where that state Supreme Court just dealt former NFL coach John Gruden a defeat. Tuesday, the court ruled against Gruden in a contract interference and conspiracy lawsuit that he filed against the NFL. Gruden claiming that the league forced him to resign by leaking years-old politically incorrect emails from his days as a commentator on ESPN. Gruden's attorney said they will appeal that decision. Now, it's important because they will be appealing a decision that, in effect, means that the case will be turned over for mediation to the NFL itself, and that the determinant force in all of this will be Roger Goodell, the commissioner of the NFL. Does that strike you as fair, or does that strike you as just more Marxist horse crap? In other news, Whoopi Goldberg surprised panelists on The View by defending Kansas City Chiefs kicker Harrison Butker. During a commencement speech at Benedictine College, Butker denounced abortion, euthanasia, and the LGBTQ movement. Listen to him, if you will.
Not unique. Bad policies and poor leadership have negatively impacted major life issues. Things like abortion, IVF, surrogacy, euthanasia, as well as a growing support for degenerate cultural values in media, all stem from the pervasiveness of disorder. Our own nation is led by a man who publicly and proudly proclaims his Catholic faith, but at the same time is delusional enough to make the sign of the cross during a pro-abortion rally.
I have to say, Butker was impressive indeed in that speech, impressive as well in the way in which he's responding to the ignorance that assaulted him in the aftermath. Whoopi Goldberg defended him, though. She said, quote, he's at a Catholic college. He's a staunch Catholic. These are his beliefs, and he's welcome to them. Now, that's a remarkably reasonable take, particularly from Whoopi Goldberg. I just want to say to Butker, your speech was exactly what what I think every American should hear. And the fact that so many Americans decided to assault you to demand that you be removed from the Kansas City Chiefs, the ignorance is palatable, and your conduct is courageous, and I salute you, and I thank you. Well, we have some more good news here. Texas Governor Greg Abbott has pardoned Daniel Perry. He's the former U.S. Army sergeant who was forced to kill an armed Black Lives Matter agitator in 2020 in self-defense. Perry was in his car when the BLM thug approached his window, menacing him, holding a rifle. Perry shot him with a handgun, and what he said was self-defense. Abbott did the right thing. He pardoned him, and that is inspirational. I have to say, Governor Abbott is just an extraordinary leader, and I think principal among all of the governors in the country. Turning now to exciting news, Mike Lindell, as you know, with a passion to help you get the best sleep of your life, he invented the world's best pillow. And then he created the famous Giza Dream Sheets. They're the best sheets you will ever sleep on. Now, I know you've heard me say that before. I'll say it again. They're the best sheets you will ever sleep on. My wife and I have been sleeping on them for years. They are indeed the best. We wouldn't sleep on any other sheet, given a choice. And we have a choice. So for a limited time, you will get a queen size set for $59.98, king size just $10 more, the lowest prices in history. And be sure to take advantage of that offer. Mike and MyPillow employees continue to be canceled by big box stores and, of course, attacked by the national left-wing puke media. They appreciate all of your great support during these times and want to thank you by giving you free shipping on your entire order today. To get the best specials ever, go to mypillow.com or call 800-977-9152. Use promo code Dobbs, D-O-B-B-S. You get the famous Giza Dream Sheets, queen size, $59.98, and king size just $10 more. So call 800-977-9152 or go to mypillow.com, promo code Dobbs, to get free shipping on your entire order today. And be with us each and every day for my podcast, The Great America Show. An alarming new report shows how CCP-linked groups are backing the pro-Hamas chaos on our college campuses. China is backing the anti-capitalist, anti-police, anti-government, anti-Israel, anti-Semitic rioting and upheaval taking place across this country. And joining us now to talk about all of this is Senior Fellow at the Hudson Institute, former advisor to Secretary of State Mike Pompeo on China policy. We're joined by Miles Yu, who is also a professor of military history and modern China at the U.S. Naval Academy at Annapolis, Maryland. It's great to have you with us, Miles, and we appreciate your time. This is a strange development coming as it does from nonprofits and private individuals talking about the relationship between the pro-Hamas demonstrations, the anti-Israel, anti-American demonstrations on campuses being sponsored by and, in effect, indirectly from the CCP. Your thoughts about how this came to be?
I think, after all those years talking about China threat, China challenge, whatever phrase you prefer, really we should not have much of a surprise of anything as related to China. Mm-hmm. In this particular case, it's an open society in America. Open society provides strength and the democratic institutions, but also open society poses a major weakness and vulnerabilities for our national security. So state-sponsored actors like China, they will do anything like this. So if you know the ethos of governance, the modus operandi of how CCP operates, this should not come out surprise at all.
Yeah, I don't know that I traffic in surprises at all, being in this business as long as I have. I am a person who really takes what comes pragmatically and then tries to figure out why in the world the United States would permit such assaults on its national security, its foundation, whether it be economic, whether it be political, societal. This is an extraordinary development to me, that there would be this close a relationship between the government of Communist China and these demonstrations and organizations, pro-Hamas organizations in the United States. It isn't a surprise. It is just, I guess there is a surprise within that, and that is that this warning, this revelation did not come from our intelligence community, didn't come from the FBI's National Security Division. It comes from, as I said, nonprofits and private organizations. Does it surprise you that we weren't getting this warning from our intelligence community?
I think this. I cannot vouch for the exact story there, but what I'm saying, that if it were true, proven true, and I think within our democratic system, we do have the methods to figure out, verify that. And what I'm saying is this should not surprise me, because China uses all occasions available to promote this narrative that somehow democracy is a failure. It's nothing but a chaos. The Chinese model of governance is the better one. The socialist system led by a unitary party under the Chinese Communist Party's leadership. So that's the narrative. They want that kind of narrative to prevail in order for the regime to survive and thrive. That's why whenever there are chances of chaos and instability, they're going to exaggerate that and to make it wider and more violent to prove their point. In this particular case, the American social and political conditions are so ripe right now that there are a lot of resistance movement, they call it. New York Times had a headline on May 3rd describing what happened at the UCLA. The headline says how counter-protesters, meaning the pro-Israeli groups, how counter-protesters at the UCLA provoked violence unchecked for hours. So this kind of media environment provided opportunity for China to jump in. Secondly, China also is very, very keen in promoting this narrative of operation and the theory of liberation. So young people are drawn into that, very much like a cultural revolution. Anybody who grew up in China know this is exactly what happened there.
Yeah,
and let me add this. There's one also very interesting organizational inspiration from the Chinese Communist Party to Hamas people. If you know, China is ruled by what's called the Politburo. You know who else has a Politburo? The highest command authority in Hamas is also called Politburo. Politburo is elected by an organization called the Shura. Shura is very much like a Chinese Communist Party Central Committee that elects members of Politburo. Under that, there's also a very unique organization. It's called Palestine Delegation Abroad. That is exactly the same thing as to China's United Front Department. So you can see structurally, organizationally, they're almost identical.
Yeah, in this, I sort of refer to my my undergraduate comparative government course, and I found that once one looks at a totalitarian government and a democratic or constitutional republic, you know just about everything that's necessary to know how you can work. That is, you work from the center in both, but there is no second chances under totalitarian governments, whether they be within the Hamas, whether it be within the Soviet Union or the communist Chinese government. What I find interesting is that our intelligence community, and it's more about them than it is about our adversaries. The intelligence community seems to be at a point of impasse. It doesn't seem to be able to get beyond domestic politics to actually be bringing helpful information, data and events to the attention of our government. This government just seems disinterested in reality. So maybe that's part of the reason why. You get the last word here.
I think we call ourselves a functioning democracy. By that, we mean that there's a functioning bureaucratic pursuit. Every department, every agency is in charge of a particular case. What they do not see is the larger picture, the strategic approach, China's mentality, the source of China's actions over there, what the purpose is, what they do. So there's a disconnect there. I hope our intelligence organizations, they're doing a great job, but they have to connect the dots to make sure to see the whole picture. And particularly, you know how the Chinese government works. I mean, there's one aspect of this that I forgot to mention, which is also very important. Chinese Communist government know the gullibility of the youth. You know what's the best time for them to get riled up is during final exams. That's exactly what happened during the last week of April and the first weeks of May. A lot of times they can get these people to the street and to form an army of protest and resistance.
Thank you so much for being with us, Miles. We appreciate it. Look forward to another conversation soon. Please come back. Senior Fellow at the Hudson Institute, former China Policy Advisor to Secretary of State Pompeo. And while the communist Chinese are infiltrating our universities and pouring across the southern border, criminal illegal aliens are absolutely wreaking havoc in our inner cities, targeting American civilians in the most horrific of ways. A criminal illegal alien named Eduardo Sarabia, a 40-year-old in the country, thanks to the invitation of Joe Biden, Sarabia is accused of running a, quote, rape dungeon on wheels that, according to the New York Post, allegedly kidnapping victims in areas of the San Gabriel Mountains near San Bernardino, California, where he subjected victims to rape, torture, and abuse. And in Virginia, a criminal illegal alien named Hooter Pedro Javier Sakul Kal was arrested and charged for rape of a minor. These are future Biden voters, folks. That's the reason they're here, so that Joe Biden would have support despite whatever the polls say. That's the only reason these violent thugs are in the country. And please remember that when you vote. And remember, a vote for a Marxist Dem is a vote for the destruction of this country. Spread the word about the kind of vicious criminals that Joe Biden insisted on inviting into our country by the millions. Masters champion Scottie Scheffler, the world's #1 golfer, was arrested this morning on his way to the PGA Championship tournament with stunning video showing him handcuffed as he was taken to jail for not following police orders. By the way, wait till you hear these police orders. Watch this.
Guys. Dude, step back. Back up. I'm back. I'm back.
You're game one, right? Yeah, that's a 15.
Guys.
What do we tell you?
I'm staying back.
Here's the thing. Right now, he's going to jail.
Okay.
He's going to jail, and it ain't nothing you can do about it. Period. There's nothing you can do about it.
And what did he do? Hours after being arrested, charged with all sorts of nonsense, treated as discourteously as you could be by, almost as discourteously as you could imagine. What did Scottie Scheffler, the world's #1, do? After all of that disruption in his day, he went out and immediately birdied the first hole. He is now 5 under, and he is in 3rd place in that tournament. So the Louisville Police Department didn't hurt his game at all. And it looks like they're going to have to, the Louisville Police Department, up their game. And turning now to more exciting news, Mike Lindell, as you know, has a passion to help you get the best sleep of your life. After he invented the world's best pillow, he created the famous Giza Dream Sheets. I love talking about Giza Dream Sheets because they are simply the best sheets ever made, in my opinion. You will never sleep on better sheets. Your best night's sleep, though, just got even better thanks to Mike Lindell. For a limited time, you'll get a queen-size set of those Giza sheets for $59.98. King size, just $10 more. These are the lowest prices ever. Mike and MyPillow employees continue to be canceled by those big box stores and attacked by the national left-wing media. But guess what? They appreciate all of your great support during these times and want to thank you by giving you free shipping on your entire order today. To get the best specials ever, go to mypillow.com, call 800-977-9152, and use promo code Dobbs, D-O-B-B-S. You get the famous Giza Dream Sheets. You get the queen size for only $59.98, the king size just $10 more. So call 800-977-9152 or go to mypillow.com, promo code Dobbs, to get free shipping on your entire order today. And please join us each and every day for my podcast, The Great America Show. Thanks for being with us. Join us here Monday, 7 o'clock Eastern, 6 Central. Good night. Have a great weekend. God bless you, and God bless America.
Mike Lindell here, and like you, I see our country being destroyed daily. We face massive economic issues, and I can tell you from firsthand experience, there are people in power who threaten the values that have made our country great. Well, I've been a believer in gold and silver for a long time, and I've searched for years for a partner that shares my values. Well, Genesis Gold Group showed me how easy it is to protect your IRA, 401k, or your retirement with gold and silver. Their faith-driven approach to service and stewardship is one that stands out from the rest. So call Genesis Gold Group now at 1-800-200-GOLD. That's 1-800-200-4653, or go to LindellGoldRush.com now.
3 years ago, FrankSpeech.com was launched during the height of mass media censorship to give voices back to those who had their voices silenced. Today, we stand at the precipice of a new era, covering the most important presidential election in American history. An era defined by the battle for some of our most fundamental rights: freedom of speech, freedom of press, and secure elections. We at Frank Speech